Hi, my name is Chef Jesse McDonald, and today we're going to be making a tasty roasted red pepper cream to pair with Canadian oysters. I've already taken my red pepper and started the sweating process in a pan with a little bit of oil. We want to sweat those off for about 5 minutes or until the peppers are just translucent. So they're almost where we need them to be right now. So I'm going to add in our heavy cream. And we are just going to let the peppers and the cream simmer away together for about 5 to 10 minutes. And in the meantime, we're going to get our oysters ready for the oven. Now, we don't need any special pan or anything for baked oysters. The tried and tested method is a baking sheet and some tin foil. So I'm going to take a piece and just kind of gently crumple it up. Place it on my sheet pan to get ready for the oven. And I'm going to finish off shucking our oysters. So I'm going to grab an oyster, put it on the roll end of my cloth, notch up. I'm going to make sure that my thumb's tucked in just to protect from any slipping or broken shell. I'm going to stick my oyster knife in the notch, do a rotation with my wrist, not a pry up. I'm going to angle my knife upward to remove the top shell. At this point, if there's any sediment or anything, shell bits in the oyster, we can knock them out onto our cloth, and then we're going to detach the oyster meat from the bottom shell. If you're looking for a more in-depth explanation on oysters, whether it's shucking, storing, or buying, check out our other videos on oysters from seafoodfromcanada.com. So now that I have my oysters all set up on the pan, they are ready for the oven. So I have my oven preheated, ready to go, 400 degrees, and we're going to put the oysters in just as is for about 10 minutes. So now that the oysters are in the oven, while they're baking, we're going to finish our cream sauce. So the last remaining ingredients now are just to flavor the sauce. It should be the right consistency. We're going to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar, about a tablespoon, a little bit of honey, a sprinkle of fresh parsley, and I am going to zest some of this lime using my microplane. Now I know a microplane is not something that all of you will have at home, but something that works great that most people have is the fine edge of your cheese grater. So we're just looking for, again, about half a teaspoon of lime zest just to bring out some of the other flavors. And now we're going to let that simmer together for about another 5 minutes or so, and just about at that point, our oysters should be ready to remove from the oven. So now that our oysters have baked for about 10 minutes, we are ready to add our finished red pepper cream sauce. So I've pulled them out of the oven here now. I'm just going to set them on my board. Very simply, I'm just going to take my sauce and about a teaspoon or so, just covering the oyster meat itself. And then I'm going to just top each oyster with a little bit of breadcrumbs, just for a nice contrast and some crunch. So once we get the breadcrumbs added to the oysters, they're going to go back in the oven on broil for about 2 minutes or until the bread is just golden brown. So while we have the oysters just finishing up in the oven, I'm going to get our plate ready for the oysters once they come out and they are completely finished. So I have a little bit of Swiss chard here that I'm going to quickly dice up. Something that's common in the industrial food industry is often you'll see raw oysters that are served on salt. And cooked oysters generally are served on greens or something of the like, just as a standard to differentiate between the two. What'll happen is if you use salt on a cooked oyster, it'll fuse to the bottom of your shell, and you have a danger of potentially dropping some crystallized salt into one of your oysters. So now that we have our plate set up, I have some lemon and parsley here. We're going to do our final garnish on the plate, and we just want to check the oysters in the oven. They should be just about ready to plate up. So now we have our oysters. As you can see, the bread is just crisped up a little bit. The sauce is nicely bubbling, and we're just going to place them on the Swiss chard. And as I mentioned earlier, we're just going to garnish simply with a little bit of lemon and parsley, a very classic pairing. And there you have it. We have Canadian oysters with a roasted red pepper cream sauce. For today's recipe, please head over to seafoodfromcanada.com.